Hello there, humans. So, today we are going to read an article about culture. I'm going to read the article and I would like you to just listen. You can listen to what I read a few times and then listen to the second part. After I read it, I'm going to explain some of the words and some of the grammar to help you understand it better. Okay? So, you can listen to the first part, the reading, a couple times, and then listen to the second part. Okay, here we go. Just listen. Oh, the first name in this article is not an English name, it's a Vietnamese name, a name from Vietnam. So, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to say it correctly, but I will try. Okay, Soi Hoang will graduate from Verdugo Hills High School in June, and he hopes to play college volleyball someday. If he does well, he could make an All-American team. That would be a new experience for Hoang, who played on a high school team with students of just about every nationality except Americans. Verdugo Hills finished second in its division of the city playoffs this spring, with a team made up entirely of players from Vietnam, China, and the Philippines. And none of the 8 Latino players on the junior varsity even lived in this country a year ago. If the United States is a melting pot, the pot has boiled over in Southern California. In the Los Angeles Unified School District, which includes Verdugo Hills High, students speak more than 83 languages and dialects. In such an environment, school officials say sports have become invaluable in the process of acculturation. Not only can sports draw students to class and help keep them there, but they also provide a way around the social, cultural, and linguistic obstacles facing new immigrants. Okay, tough to read fast. I read it fast because I want to practice your ear. So try to listen to it again. Try to catch some words and understand what you can. Now I'm going to go over the first couple of paragraphs, and then at the end I would like you to finish and try to understand the rest. Okay, so I'm not going to explain the whole thing. Here we go. So, this person, Soi Hoang, however you say it, will graduate from Verdugo Hills High School. So, graduate is usually a verb or a noun. Graduate is the verb. Graduation verb. Noun, graduate, graduation. So, if you graduate something, you finish something. It means to finish and go to the next level. The graduation is when you do it. This is my graduation. But you can also use this as an adjective. Graduation can be an adjective. So, for example, the day you graduate, you have something called a ceremony. A ceremony is a special event, some special procedure or process or event that you do for a certain thing. You can have a wedding ceremony and you can have a graduation ceremony. So graduation can be an adjective, okay? All right, so this person will graduate from Verdugo Hills High School. Verdugo Hills is just the name of this place. It's probably a town, a small town, a village. Many small cities in America have hills after it. something hills. You can probably search in Google any word plus hills, and it's the name of a town in America. Very, very common. So you have first the name of the town or city or village or area, and then high school. Usually it's like that. The name of the high school is the town first. Okay, so this person will graduate or finish high school in June. That is when he will finish. Okay. And he hopes to play college volleyball someday. Okay, so if you hope to do something, it is your dream. He hopes to. He hopes to play. I hope to be a doctor someday. I hope to visit America someday. Okay, so this person played volleyball in high school and hopes to or wants to play volleyball in college. College. Now, many American people don't say university. Instead, they say college. I want to go to college, or I will go to college next year. So, instead of saying university, usually we say college, but we mean university. So this person wants to play college volleyball someday. Someday means he doesn't know when it will happen. If you say, I want to be a doctor someday. Well, good, but that doesn't mean you know when it will happen. It means you maybe have a plan. First I will do this, and then I will do this. But when will it happen? In which month? In which year? I don't know. I just want to. So you can add someday if your plans or your dreams are not set. You're not sure when it will happen. I want to go to America someday. I want to be a doctor someday. Add someday at the end. Okay. So, if he does well, he could make an all-American team. Okay, if he does well. So he has not started yet, right? It's his dream. If he goes to college or university to play volleyball and he does well, if he does well. If he fails, no. If he is very good or does well. If he does not fail, if he succeeds, he could make an all-American team. Now, can you guess what all-American team means? That does not mean that only Americans are on the team. It sounds like that. All-American. And I guess probably American people are on the team. But the meaning, the real meaning of all-American something is for the highest level of people doing that. If you are on an all-American team in high school, it means you are the best in high school across the country at this sport. I was on the all-American football team last year. So I was on the highest level of team. So it's not about it being American. It's not about it being everyone is American. The basic meaning is highest level. Okay? Highest level. So the first paragraph just means this person will finish high school and then he wants to play volleyball in university. He could do well or not. If he does well, he could, maybe he could be on the highest level team. All-American. All-American. So, that's the first paragraph. Pretty simple. That would be a new experience for Hoang. Hoang or Hoang, I don't know. That would be a new experience. So, a new experience is something you never did before. So, if you travel to a new country and you do something you never did before, you can say, that was a new experience, as a comment about that thing. Okay, so that would be a new experience for Hoang, who played on a high school team with students of just about every nationality except Americans. So, the All-American team means the highest level, and if he joins that team, he will probably be with people who are not foreigners like himself from other high-level schools. Okay, so it would be a new experience. It would be a new experience because he is used to playing with other foreigners. Let me read it again. That would be a new experience for Hoang, who played on a high school team with students of just about every nationality except Americans. Now, just about every nationality means country. My nationality is American. And he, in high school, played with people from just about every nationality except Americans. Just about means almost every nationality. Now, that is not true. That is not true. Sometimes people say something not true, not to lie, but to exaggerate. An exaggeration is when you stretch the truth to make a point. I played with just about every other nationality, or I played with almost every other country's people, except Americans. Then you would have to play with people from more than 200 countries. No, it doesn't mean that. It means most of the players were foreigners. All of the players were foreigners that he played with. So he played with people who were foreign like him, not Americans. Okay, so sometimes you can say, well, that's just about the craziest thing I've ever seen. Well, maybe it is, or maybe you're just saying that to exaggerate. Exaggerate. Okay, so exaggerate again means to stretch what is true to make a certain point. Okay? So that would be a new experience. He played with students from just about every nationality except Americans. Right. Verdugo Hills finished second in its division of the city playoffs this spring. So Verdugo Hills, now they're just saying the name of the city, Verdugo Hills. But what they mean is the high school. So after you say Verdugo Hills High School, every time after that, you don't need to say Verdugo Hills High School, Verdugo Hills High School. You can just say Verdugo Hills. At the beginning, if they said Verdugo Hills only, and they didn't say high school, then I think, is this about a city? What is this? But at the beginning, they said Verdugo Hills High School. So now I know it's about a high school. Every time they say Verdugo Hills, I know, okay, it's a high school. Okay. Verdugo Hills finished second in its division. So, in America, high schools that have sports teams, like basketball, like baseball, are in divisions. A division is a group, okay? So, usually, your high school's team plays other teams who are in the same division as you. we can say division means group. There are Division 1 teams, that's a high level, Division 2 teams, Division 3 teams, and so on. So you play only in your level, your division, or your group. And if you maybe beat all of these people, you play the Division 1 team. If you are Division 2, maybe. So you go to a different group. You can play another group. But usually, you only play teams that are in your group, your division. When I say play, I mean versus, against them. We played blah 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 yesterday. That means the other team's name. If this is another high school, and this is me and my team, we played this other team. Or, we played, let me write it higher. We played, let's say, New Fairfield. We played New Fairfield today. That means my team against that team. I played you in a game of ping pong. We played them in basketball. Okay, so played is talking about the relationship between the two teams. Okay? It means in this situation against, or versus. All right. Verdugo Hills finished second in its division. Finished second, that means the season. A season, in this case, is 1 year of a certain sport. So, for example, if you finish second, that means the season is over and your rank is second. Rank means how high. So you play all the teams in your division and you are the number 2 team at the end of this year for this sport. So the basketball year of 2014 is over. Who is the number 1 team? Who is the number 2 team? Okay, so you are second in your division. At the end, you can say, we finished second. We finished second in our division at the end, okay? Verdugo Hills finished second in its division. So again, it's because it's talking about the school's team. Its division of the city playoffs this spring. Okay, the city playoffs. Playoffs is when sports teams decide who is number 1, who is number 2. If this is the whole season, these are just games. One team plays another team, then they play another team, then they play a different team, and then they play the same team again. They just play games. But at the end of the year or at the end of the season, they have special games to decide who is number 1, who is number 2, and so on. So let's say that's this part. This is called the playoffs, the end of the year, a special kind of match. We could call it a tournament. We could call it a tournament to decide the winners, okay? Playoffs. Usually it's used for basketball. Okay, so let's go on. Verdugo Hills finished second in its division of the city playoffs this spring with a team made up entirely of players from Vietnam, China, and the Philippines. Made up. So, the team that played in the playoffs, that got second place, is made up of. If you're made up of something, that means the parts of that. All of the members all of the people on the team. The members of the team is what makes up the team. So for example, a company is made up of all of the people that work there, or all of the different departments. Okay? So the parts of something, you can say make that, or it is made up of that. Okay, so made up entirely of players from Vietnam, China, and the Philippines. Entirely. 100%. 100% entirely. Okay? So this spring they finished number 2, and the team is 100% people from these 3 countries. China, Vietnam, and the Philippines. Okay, so I have some Chinese players and Soi Hoang, who is from Vietnam and also from the Philippines. 3 different countries. And none of the 8 Latino players in the junior varsity even lived in this country a year ago. All right, let's talk about this sentence. So, in American high school, you have a basketball team. And the basketball team has 2 parts. The varsity and the junior varsity. Let me explain this. The varsity is the highest level of the team, and they go play other varsity teams in this division. Remember, in this group of teams, they play other varsity teams. And the junior varsity maybe has younger high school students or lower level high school students who aren't as good. And they go and play junior varsity teams in that division. So you have these people and these people, basically one team, but actually 2 teams, going to play other teams in the division. Sometimes one person from this division will go up and be on the varsity team. Maybe one varsity team member gets sick, and so one person from the junior varsity will go up to the varsity. So usually, in the 4 years of high school, the younger 2 years are in junior varsity and the older 2 years are in varsity. But if you're in the lowest year, the first year of high school, and you're really, really, really good, you can go up to varsity. But that's not very common. Okay, so we have a varsity made up of people from China, Vietnam, and the Philippines, and a junior varsity made up of Latino team members. 8 Latino players. None of the 8 Latino players. So players are the members of the team. Latino means they're Spanish speaking and perhaps come from Mexico, or they come from areas south of the United States that speak Spanish. Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, different countries. So they also came to America, and these 8 people are on the junior varsity team. Now let's look at the sentence. None of the 8 Latino players on the junior varsity even lived in this country a year ago. So they're all new to America. All of them. None of them lived in America 1 year ago. They lived in their home countries. Now they're in America and they are on the junior varsity team. There are 8 of them. So you can use this expression, none of the something, to describe 0 of this group, something. So for example, none of the people who I talked to yesterday were interesting. I talked to people yesterday, but 0 of those people were interesting, just for example. None of the 8, that's how many, players were in America a year ago. Okay. So, just to summarize this sentence, we have this team, this high school team in its division, and it's number 2. And it's made of people from Vietnam, people from the Philippines, people from China. Then we have a junior varsity, and this is made up of people from Latin America or Latino players, maybe others, we don't know. Okay? So there's a big mix of people, but they still did pretty well. And one of those people is this man, Soi Hoang, from Vietnam. So, I'm going to post the rest of this article in the comment section and the description below. After you listen a few times to what I read at the beginning, you can go down and read it, copy it, and then look at the next 2 paragraphs and try to understand the meaning. Basically, like I did, look at each part, think about each part, the meaning, and then try to understand the whole thing. I'm going to read the first 3 paragraphs again, okay? Soi Hoang will graduate from Verdugo Hills High School in June, and he hopes to play college volleyball someday. If he does well, he could make an All-American team. That would be a new experience for Hoang, who played on a high school team with students of just about every nationality except Americans. Verdugo Hills finished 2nd in its division of the city playoffs this spring, with a team made up entirely of players from Vietnam, China, and the Philippines. And none of the 8 Latino players on the junior varsity team, even lived in this country a year ago. Okay, so listen to the beginning part again, and then copy the article from the description, and then try to understand it. If you have any questions, just ask. See you next time.